Hello there, Frostsmirk. Yeah, welcome. So let's see. Promised to do this video, so I'm gonna try to do my best to fulfill all your requirements. So let's start with my specs, and let's see here. Running Windows 10 Home, 64-bit. I got an i5-6600 CPU at 3.3 GHz and 16 GB of RAM. And my GPU is GTX 970. Right. Oh yes, and my Windows mouse settings are of course set to 6 out of 11, I think you call it, the middle. So there's no multiplication of my mouse movements or anything like that. And let's see. Alright, so my my normal DPI I use in Windows and such is 400. And I just calculate it so that in-game I run at 3 in-game sensitivity in games that use the same way of calculating sensitivity as the Source Engine and as QuickLive and etc. etc. And that means I have in those games I have an effective sensitivity of 1200. And I'm gonna test all four of these 240 DPI, that's the lowest my mouse will go. It's a GE402 by the way, and I have no other mouse or input software that would affect these tests. So I'll test at 240 times 5 in-game sensitivity, effective a sensitivity of 1200, and so on and so forth. And I'll start with the lowest DPI and then move to the highest DPI, just because they have the biggest contrast. And then afterwards I'll do these reasonable DPIs, as you call them, that apparently, which you're very right about, that most pros use. And I can't tell you why, you'd have to ask them. So let's see. Right, yes, I'm going to use Counter-Strike Go. And indeed, nothing moronic, non-moronic, right? But well, I'll use moronic DPIs, but I'll also use reasonable ones. And I'm recording at 60 frames per second. I've also set the let me see, what's the bitrate is 130 megabit per second, so that's pretty high quality. And should make it a bit easier to notice in game. Right, you've seen my mouse settings. I am gonna exit Logitech gaming software. Yeah, and one continuous video. Yeah, should be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the silly DPI of 240, and let's boot up Counter-Strike. Alright. I'm just going to show you some of my settings in game. Running in full screen, no borderless window or anything like that. And I have disabled anti-aliasing and VSync, especially the anti-aliasing. When you have that off, it's a bit easier to notice. You'll probably see why. It's a bit easier to notice in game how this low and high DPI affects the in-game movements. And yeah, I'm gonna limit the frame rate to the to what I'm recording at, 60. And right now, yeah, using DPI of 240, so I'll set my in-game sensitivity to P5, so effective sensitivity of 1200. Let's just get it to training course. And let's see. Actually, I find I find it a bit easy to notice the smoothness when using a high DPI on things when there's like flat sprites, because they're often more subject to aliasing. So I'm just going to jump into the dust MOBs and before it's there. Foliage, yeah. And I think we will get in here without any bots, but let's see. Oh, there's bots. Oh, just friendly bot. That's fine. So some foliage here. Some. Ideally, I want something with a high contrast behind it. I think this will be fine. The green and the not too big a contrast will be fine. Okay, so gonna move. So the key to noticing this is to, especially if you want to test it out yourself, what you want to do is you want to move your mouse as little as possible until you see your perspective in game actually change, right? Your point of view. So I'm gonna try and make the smallest mouse movements I can until it picks up in game any movement. So I'm gonna try and move, and there's a little bump, and there, and there. You'll see there are little bumps. Alright, so there. Hopefully the aliasing on the plants here will make it a bit clearer. Maybe this is better. Let's see. Okay, bump. I'll try to make smooth, continuous movement. Hopefully it'll be noticeable. You can see there's still little bumps. It's not too noticeable, but there are little bumps. Not entirely smooth. It's like little what would you call it? I don't know, bumps. Right, okay, so let's try. Oh fuck, I forgot to exit Logitech gaming software. I'll just do that quickly so you'll see it has no effect. I need to open Logitech gaming software to change my DPI. That's the only way I can do that. So, just going to show you it actually has no effect. Okay, here we go. And bump, 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 bump. And I'll try this smooth movement. See, it's a little bit jittery, kind of. I don't think jittery is the exact right way to describe it, but it skips a little, just a little bit, not very noticeable. You won't notice it when you're rocket jumping and doing flick shots, but you might notice it when you're sniping in a slow paced game like Counter-Strike, especially. So let's try with a stupid high DPI. Let's set it to 4000. No. And here we go. I don't have a profile set up for Counter-Strike, so it's just using my default that I use in Windows. So of course the one disadvantage you get from setting the DPI this high is that the desktop and your in-game menus are going to be quite hard to control because the mouse speed is so exaggerated. And what I do to avoid that is I just set two DPIs for I make a profile for a game, set two DPIs, and I have a button for hot swapping between them. So let's see, 0.3, that's the same effective sensitivity, right? So still 1200 sensitivity. And I'll try to make the smallest possible movements I can. I'm doing that. I'm actually moving the mouse now. And hopefully you'll be able to notice that that the bumps are much smaller. In fact, you can barely, the only way, at least for me, the only way I can really tell that I'm actually moving the mouse, I can't tell from my perspective moving because it's moving so little. The only way I can really tell is because of the aliasing on the foliage there. You can see the pixels there kind of changing up a little bit when I move the mouse, which is why it's nice to disable anti-aliasing. Yes, I am in fact moving the mouse right now, but the bumps are so much smaller. I'll try to move it smoothly now. Doing that. Of course, my hand is not perfect, so I might be a little bit shaky, but hopefully, like sometimes I might shake a little bit and look like bigger bumps, but hopefully at other times you'll be able to see that when I move when I'm able to move it more smoothly. There, try to move it smoothly, and again I'll try to make the smallest movements again now. And right now I'm holding still. You'll see the foliage there. When I'm not touching the mouse, it's not moving at all, so there's no wind sway or anything like that to mess with the perception here. Again, I'm going to try to move as little as I can. This might not be visible on YouTube due to compression, but I'll upload the video to Google Drive as well, so we can avoid any additional compression. And I am in fact moving the mouse ever so slightly. Right, so that's that. And let's see, let's try the more sensible DPIs. Let's go with 400. And at 400, the bumps are of course going to be smaller, but they're definitely still noticeable, for sure. There's no doubt about that. And that's what I used to use. It's only recently that I've started using crazy high DPIs in games and just adjusting the in-game sensitivity downwards. I've only done that recently, so this is fairly new to me as well. Alright, so to get the same effective sensitivity, let's set it to 3 in-game. Okay, I'm gonna move as slow as I can. You'll see we get little bumps again. There. Boop. 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 Slightly smaller bumps than at 240 DPI, but they're still there. Again, I recommend you try it out for yourself. Because you can definitely feel it, especially if you move the mouse as slowly as you can. There. And I'll try to make a smooth movement as well. It's not super noticeable when you're moving the mouse in a smooth motion, but you can tell. The most noticeable is the smaller movements you make, the more noticeable it is. But it does make little jumps, little skips. Right, and let's try 800. And of course, at some point, it's going to be like I've tested with 4,000 DPI. If I was able to set it to 40,000 DPI. Oh wait, sorry, I had this running when I did this test. I'm just gonna do that again with 400 and close the software. I doubt a human being would be able to notice in any way the difference between 4,000 DPI at 0.3 in-game sensitivity and 40,000 DPI at 0.03 sensitivity. I don't think that's going to be humanly possible. Alright, sensitivity 3, 400 DPI, and I did shut off Logitech gaming software. Yeah, there we go. hopefully I did that as well when we used 4000 DPI. Otherwise, I'll just wrap the video up with doing that again. All right. Okay, just gonna do this quickly. So, moving as the smallest movements I can make with my mouse, and bump, 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 up and down, bump, bump, bump. Well, just up is fine. And now the smooth movement. I think especially in the edge of the screen, it's more noticeable when trying to do the somewhat smooth movements. But that might just be me. Just ever so slightly small skips. Whoops, sorry. Right. And now 800. I do apologize if this video turns out to be a bit too long, but I just want to make sure everything is as clear as it can be. So now it probably won't be very noticeable, but personally I can still tell just a little bit at this DPI. At a certain point you won't really be able to tell whether it's this high or this high in the DPI. Okay, I'm gonna make the smallest, set the sensitivity to 0.5, so again, same effective sensitivity. I'm gonna make the smallest possible movements that I can. I can still tell there's these slight skips, but they're very, very tiny now. And you might not be able to tell from the video. I can feel it. Incredibly tiny, so not very noticeable at all. And I doubt you'd notice this in actual gameplay. At least not very much, unless you're conscious about it. But yeah, smallest possible movements I can make, trying to do that. And sometimes I make two jumps, of course, because my precision is only that good. And I'll try to move it smoothly. Again, it looks quite smooth at this DPI when I'm trying to move it smoothly. Definitely still tiny bumps, but even like when I move at this speed, even which is very slow, I can't tell. It's only when I make those really microscopic movements I can tell it all. Okay, just lastly, I'll do the 4000 again, and maybe the 240 as well, just to get a quick comparison again. You can always skip that part if you like, I guess. Go. Same effective sensitivity. Okay, making the smallest movements possible. I did exit Logitech. Yeah. Okay, gonna make the smallest possible movements again. Come on, then. Alright. I'm moving the mouse now. You might not be able to tell, but I find it to be the most noticeable when you look at the foliage because of the aliasing. Crazy tiny movements. Just incredibly smooth. And it's really hard for me to make make such a tiny movement that it only skips like as little as it can. Often when I try to move the mouse, it'll move a few pixels. Only sometimes I'm successful at actually making those insanely tiny movements where it only changes 1 pixel, basically. But yes, I am actually moving the mouse now, just ever so slowly. Okay, I'll try to make smooth movements now. Moving the mouse, and again, you might be able to tell that if you can't see it in the foliage, you might be able to tell by looking at the edge of the screen. But you'll notice that it's not really making any jumps, unlike when I did it on the lowest difficulties. Lowest DPIs, I mean, sorry. And if it looks jittery sometimes, it is simply because my hand is not a perfect machine. Go. Hopefully it's clear, but again, this is definitely the most noticeable when you try it for yourself. Hello there, Rockley. So I'm going to try here. When we don't have anything up close, the only way I can really tell that I'm actually moving the mouse now is from the aliasing. You can see, like, from that door over there, for instance, because I'm moving the mouse so slowly that I can't even tell that my perspective is actually changing. But it is. I am moving the mouse and the perspective is changing, but I can only tell from the aliasing. There we go. And just to wrap it up, I'll do the 240 again. I did mention which mouse I'm using, right? It's the G402. There we go, and exit. Probably should have run in borderless, but I just wanted to be sure nothing in any way could affect anything. Okay, and let's go to 3. There we go. Again, same effective sensitivity. And I'm moving as slowly as I can now, and we're getting small skips. I think you might be able to notice that. Again, maybe especially if you look at the edge of the screen. These are the smallest possible movements that I can make that has an effect in game. But yeah, like, if I'm moving like this, probably not really gonna notice it much. I'd like to think that I can tell a little bit, maybe mostly subconsciously, but it does give a kind of smooth feel. But again, the faster you're moving your mouse, like when I do this, there's no way I can tell, right? Definitely not. But when you're sniping and you're using a very low DPI, you can tell. Sorry if I'm repeating myself a lot, but I'm just not going off any script or anything. I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to show you. Again, this is my these are my mouse settings in Windows. Oh, and yeah, of course, no mouse acceleration, and my GPU, the rest of my specs, and did I show you that my polling rate is set to the max of 1000? Well, I will show you. Let's see right here. 1000 and no acceleration. And I don't have a profile for Counter-Strike, of course, so just based off of my default. So yes, again, the downside of using a really high DPI is that it's going to be hard to control your cursor on desktop or in-game menus. So of course what I do is just set it to something sensible in Windows, and then make profiles for games, and in games where the sensitivity adjustments don't affect the menu, I will just set up two DPIs I can hot swap between. I have a hotkey set up, so I use this value for when I'm in the menus in Quake, and when I get in game I set to this. The reason I don't have it maxed out at 4000 is because in Quake Champions, unlike previous Quakes, you can only change your sensitivity in small increments. So in order to get the you can't set the exact value. You can only change it from maybe from a sensitivity of 3 to a sensitivity of 3.25 or something like that. You can't make smaller increments than that. So in order to get the exact same effective sensitivity that I'm used to, I had to use this value, and then I can't remember which in-game sensitivity. Anyways, yes, I think that's about it. And if you have any questions, love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you think, and especially I'd be really interested to hear if you can also tell the difference by testing out this yourself. Oh yes, I guess just finally. I believe Rocket Jump Ninja made a video. This video.
Here we go. Great sensitive aid 2. High DPI.
This video, he talks about some of the same. Actually, in my opinion, I don't think he showed it off too well, but you can hear his thoughts on it, and he does agree with me. But whether you consider him enough of an authority or expert, that is of course up to you. In any case, I do suggest you give it a go for yourself, so you can feel the difference. Alright, that's going to be it for me, and sorry about maybe making too long a video. I guess you can just skip around if you don't want to watch all of it. But I just wanted to be as clear as possible. Let me see. There's nothing I forgot here, right? I did show you which settings I'm recording at, right? 60 FPS, pretty crazy high bitrate. Yeah. And I have no other mouse-related software besides Logitech gaming software, which I of course quit. And I made it all in one video. So I think that's it. Okay. Well, yeah. Looking forward to hear from you, and take care. All right. Adios.